What I'd like to do today in 10 minutes is just give you a really brief overview of who we are as Regulus and why we're excited about this new opportunity that we're just launching right now. It's a great time to see us. We started drilling about 10 days ago on this, and we anticipate we'll be drilling rather continuously for probably the next 2 or 3 years on what looks like will be a very major copper-gold discovery in northern Peru. Okay, these are just some of the highlights of the company. We're an evolution of a company that was called Antares Minerals. Antares Minerals was formed about 15 years ago, and we're a group of very technically strong exploration geologists coming from backgrounds from major mining companies. We had the good fortune to make the discovery of the Jiquira porphyry copper deposit in southern Peru, and we sold that to First Quantum in 2010 for about $650 million. Since that time, we spun Regulus out. And we were fortunate. We had kind of this extended long downturn in the recent years. We were cashed up. We had a track record, and we went shopping to look for another project. We were pretty careful about what we looked for. We wanted to see if we could land on a project that had a chance to repeat our success we had with Jiquira, and we were quite fortunate to find the Antacory project in northern Peru. So that's what we'll talk about today. We're essentially the exact same team that had Antares, with the benefit of when we identified the Antacory project, we merged with a company called Southern Legacy Peru, led by Fernando Pickman, a very experienced mining lawyer in Peru, and that's a much welcomed benefit to our team right now. We're a much stronger team even than when we were with Antares. When we put this together, we mentioned that what we have is an emerging copper, gold, silver discovery that we think will be the next major discovery in Peru. I think since we wrote that comment, we've actually been joined by the likes of Tinka and Camino and a few others on this. But I think that's important to point out that Peru's a very good country to be in. We're seeing emerging discoveries of several different types in several different areas. So we're well funded. We have $10 million in the bank right now, and we've just launched a program that'll be 15,000 to 18,000 meters of drilling over the course of this next year, leading to a revised resource calculation by about January of next year. This is the location, so you can see where we're at. We're in northern Peru, and we're in a cluster of deposits that include things like Yanacocha, one of the largest gold mines in the world, La Granja, a development stage project by Rio Tinto that has officially several billion tons of ore, unofficially 7 or 8 billion tons of ore, and a number of other major copper and copper-gold deposits in here. It's very interesting that the copper deposits in this area are often associated with pretty strong gold contents. The project that we have identified and acquired, Antacory, is a project that's had some previous drilling from 2 drill campaigns on it. It's not our drilling, but it did lead to the calculation of a resource. There's a resource estimate on this that we're starting from of 295 million tons, with 0.48% copper, 0.36 grams of gold, and about 10 grams of silver. A very nice starting point, but we view this as the starting point. This resource will increase in size as we begin to explore it. Just a few points on what type of a company we are. This is right off of Joe and Brent's Exploration Insights diagrams on this. We very much try to position ourselves on the steep part of the value add curve by identifying deposits that usually have some meat on the bones. They're projects that have some type of a resource already identified. We source these from, the Jiquira project came from a major mining company that felt that it was a medium-sized copper opportunity. We viewed it differently, and it turned out to be a pretty attractive deposit. This discovery, or this identification of an opportunity in Antacory is a little bit different. It was a project that was hidden under a complex land and legal situation, complex land, legal, social. As geologists in Peru, I think all of us knew about the rocks in this area and were pretty excited about the area. But it was viewed as a project that was just a little too tough to handle. It's one that had a long history and a complex history, and as we'll see, kind of a tight land position. We were alerted to this project by First Quantum, the group that we sold our previous project to. Fernando, who had Southern Legacy, had gotten himself in a spot where he needed some cash and was looking for help and put the project up on offer. First Quantum looked at it and thought it was a little too complex for them to take on, but they thought it was a perfect fit for us. And when we took a look at it and began to talk with Fernando about it, we realized that, hey, this project that we knew was geologically outstanding Actually, he had done some fantastic work on cleaning up the land and legal situation, and it was a project that we felt we could take on. Projects like this are very hard to find. There are a few groups that work in the same style we do, notably the Lumina Copper Group and others, by identifying these projects that are pretty far along that just need additional work on to really expose their value and hit the market right on the timing when you deliver a good project. For several years, or for a decade or so, we were able to identify those as mostly projects that majors had done work on and for various reasons had relinquished. Now, it's very, very hard to find this type of a project, and we feel quite fortunate that we got this one. This is just a quick snapshot of the story that we had with Antares. I won't go through all the details, but the gold line is the price of copper. The blue line is the share price of the company at the time. Oops. And you can see that our premise with Antares was we wanted to identify a project like this into a rising copper market. Copper price rose. We felt a little bit unwanted when nobody recognized we had a good project in that, but as we discovered the deep holes on that, we managed to get attention to the market and raise quite a bit of money and move the project along pretty quickly. Global financial crisis hit, took us all down, and fortunately we kept the project moving through this period of time, and when we came out of the global financial crisis a little faster than any of us anticipated, we were well positioned to deliver a resource that had grown to almost 1 billion tons in size with very good grade in a market that we had aggressive buyers. And that resulted in the project being sold for about $650 million to First Quantum. Not that they all occur exactly the same way, but this is the type of trajectory that we try to position ourselves to do. And we think that we now are back at the start, very similar to what we had with Akira. We think we're onto a project that we can develop, explore, show the size of it, de-risk it, and deliver it to potential buyers. Our share structure is pretty clean. We have about 68 million shares outstanding, and we won't go into details on that. So what we have is we have control of a significant position of a resource that's partially defined, that's wide open for expansion. It's a porphyry copper skarn style system, but it has an overprint of high sulfidation mineralization related to the nearby Miocene volcanic field. We're immediately adjacent to 2 operating mines, the Tantuatai mine and the Cerro Corona mine. And as I mentioned, we got this by merging ourselves with Southern Legacy that had the project. This is where we can begin to see some of the intricacies of the project and why this opportunity, why was there 300 million tons of 0.8 copper equivalent sitting here that people couldn't get to? The ground that we control is the red ground on this diagram. You can see it's a collage of small, old mining claims, so they're unusual orientations. They're not necessarily contiguous. The yellow ground to the southwest belongs to the Tantuatai mine, operated by Buenaventura with Southern Copper, or Grupo Mexico as a partner. Buenaventura to the north in blue, and Goldfields to the southeast in green. The deposit that they're mining is right here. This is the Tantuatai pit. This outline in dashed lines is an outline of the 17,000 meters of drilling that was completed by 2 juniors in the 1990s and again in 2007, that they were drilling for high-grade feeder veins that were feeding the mineralization that occurs in the Miocene volcanics here, and they somewhat accidentally discovered that the wall rock was quite well mineralized copper-gold skarn. That 17,000 meters of drilling is what allows us to report the 295 million tons of resource on that. But that resource is restricted only to the red claims that we control. It doesn't include mineralization that occurs on the mine. So the situation was we had a project that split between ourselves and an active mine run by 2 major mining companies. Logically, in this situation, we would normally move to a joint venture or we would sell our interest to them. But the challenge now is because the deposit is open in almost all, really open every direction except for up, both of us think we have the larger piece or the more important piece of the project right now. And so until we know what size of a deposit we have here, it's a little hard for us to proceed to have that negotiation. This was further complicated then with the situation we had here. Because of this intricate land situation, it was hard for either party to explore. And so it was somewhat of a Mexican standoff on this. Once we merged with the Southern Legacy, the next important step we did is we struck 2 very important agreements with the neighbors. The first agreement is with Tantuatai, so it's the the mine immediately to the south. So we've created a collaborative exploration agreement. Neither party earns an interest in the other party's ground, but we combine forces to systematically explore it together. We share our data, and the idea is that by working together, we'll be able to see what do we have, and then we can sit down and have that discussion. And then to the north in the pink area, we have an agreement with Kokirumi, a subsidiary of Buenaventura, where we can earn up to a 70% interest in this by completing 7,500 meters of drilling. They'll have a one-time option to claw back to 70% by paying us $9 million if they like what we're hitting. Just a quick section so we can see what the style of mineralization here is. On this, we can see our ground in red and pink, the mine ground in this bluish-green color, and we'll look at this cross-section coming through. And what we see is that in this area, these rocks in purplish colors on the upper side are the Miocene volcanic rocks. These host the Tantuatai mineralization. It's high sulfidation, precious metal mineralization, gold, copper mineralization that they process by heap leaching from this. This drilling that occurred in the 90s and early 2000s on this, up to about 2007, was looking for feeder structures from this style of mineralization, and they accidentally found that the limestone and the calcareous siltstones and shales are quite well mineralized with skarn mineralization. They're also cut by dikes that are bringing up well mineralized porphyry fragments. It's a porphyry copper skarn environment that they've partially identified on this. So what we've done by combining the targets on here now is we're beginning to drill. This is the first drill hole projected onto this section where we're starting up against the border of the mine on this. We'll be drilling through the tertiary volcanic sequence and then particularly looking to see if we can extend the size of the copper gold mineralization in the basement. Very early stages on this. Potential is quite large. This could be a major deposit by the time we're done on it. This just gives a bit of a view so you can see the environment we're in on this. These are our claims through this side on the north side of the mine. This is the active heap leach gold operation. This is Cerro Corona Goldfields operation here. Cerro Corona is a gold copper porphyry. They process that by flotation and concentration, the same type of technique that would be used for the style of mineralization we're looking for. This is a logical brownfields expansion, but it would require a change in style of mineralization on this. Goldfields runs out of ore in 8 years, and the heap leach mine to the south of us is projected to last about 8 to 10 years. So we have two natural major mining operations next door to us that are likely to be interested in extending their mine life if we develop a large resource in the area. So our strategy is to work collaboratively with the mine, see if we can drill this out, see how large of a deposit we have. And one of the reasons it took us a couple years since we merged to get this all set up is we were very careful on these agreements that we set with Buenaventura, both as the operator of the mine and Buenaventura to the north, to set agreements that allow us to work together, but it's important that we maintain our autonomy on this too. It's very nice to have a natural buyer up against you, but if they're the only buyer, our strategy doesn't work too well. So it's very important that we maintain our autonomy, and we can date other people on this is what we want to do on this. So we want to keep in play. We want to be able to show the value of this, and then deliver an opportunity for any combination of the neighbors to advance this project in the future. So the key factors to take away for this on upcoming is, as I mentioned, we just started drilling on a 15,000 to 18,000 meter drill program. We have 1 rig going right now. We'll ramp up to about 4 rigs by mid-year. We'll complete that drilling by approximately October and be able to deliver an updated resource our target is January. And what we'd like to do on this is, rather than stop drilling in October and calculate the resource, we'd like to continue the drilling straight through and just do a data cutoff, do an updated resource, and compress the time frame on this. We view a project like this will require approximately 100,000 meters of drilling as a minimum to get to a stage where we have a full resource defined, and at least at an inferred stage, and are able to table a PEA and move towards a pre-feasibility. So there'll be a lot of constant data flow on this project over the next few months. It's been very quiet for a long time, but we're back. We have a good project, and I think it's a good one to be watching for the next year or two here. Thank you very much.